Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Tom Stokesbury. I'm the lead public information officer for California Team 15. Thank you for joining us tonight on September 3rd here for the Coffee Pot Fire Community Meeting. We will start off with several of our speakers here, and then we will go into an operational update. So we are streaming this on the Sequoia Kings National Park Facebook and YouTube page. So if you are joining us there and you have a question, please put it in the comment section. We have PIOs that are monitoring that section. If you are live with us here and you have a question, please put it on an index card and get it to one of our PIOs. Just raise your hand and we'll get it to the appropriate person. I think that's going to get us an opportunity to answer a few more questions. With that, I'm going to pass it over to Clay Jordan, who is the Sequoia and Kings National Park Superintendent, to start our meeting.
Thanks, Tom. Well, good evening. So you might notice there is no marker in my hand. There's no whiteboard. So probably a lot of you are relieved that I'm not going to, start boring you with, a classroom session this evening about fire attack and all that. So we covered that already in the past, so we don't need to revisit that. I just wanted to say I don't have a whole lot to report other than to say that I don't have a whole lot to report. This fire, this is what, our third public meeting, right? And we've been talking about this and kind of predicting, talking about where we're at and where we're headed for the next week and then the next week. And now we have a new team rotation with California Team 15 that came on board and took command of the fire on Sunday. So some new faces. The transition was wonderful. There was kind of a validation of the plan that was created by the last team, and this team has just basically picked up that and ran with it. So I feel really good about the continuity of the incident management team, resources that are here, and feel super good about all the local agencies that are working together, the Park Service and the BLM and CAL FIRE and the County Fire Department and the Sheriff's Office and OES, and everybody's just working really well together and coordinated. So that's my main message, and I'm feeling pretty confident. It is a tenacious fire, and it has its little bit of challenges, but it really hasn't thrown any big curveballs at us. The basic strategies have been been pursuing them, and the basic strategies really hasn't changed a whole lot since the very early days of this fire. And so I feel good about that and hope you do too. But excited, we've got a great lineup of folks to give that operational briefing where we're at and what you can expect. And so we are under unified command, just for clarification, and so that means that I'm the agency administrator for the National Park Service, and we're in unified command with CAL FIRE. And the agency administrator for CAL FIRE is the next individual I'm going to introduce, and Chief Andy Turner. So I'll turn it over to him. Thank you.
Thank you, Clay. I consider Clay a partner, and so we're in this thing together along with all of you. It's nice to see that the crowd is a little bit less this week. I think it's only been 7 or 8 days since our last meeting, and it seems to me it was much more full room last time, and so hopefully that means that you're getting all the information that you need from our incident management teams, and also hopefully that means that your concern is diminished a little bit from the last time we were together. So I asked him to put the map up so I could I was also challenged to figure out what to talk about tonight. But I thought I'd just use this map and as an illustration to show you what Clay and the park prioritized prior to us coming into Unified Command, and then what's transpired over the last week since the last time we met here in this room. If you'll remember, when we were here together, we had a fire up on the mountain and no containment. We had a bit of a plan and we had the advantage, but that was really all. And so since then, and the priorities that they put in play was to lock off the community. I mean, that was it. It was to to protect the infrastructure, to protect all of you. And like I said, that was even before CAL FIRE came in. But we were happy to see it. And so if I could switch sides over here, you got Three Rivers here, and you've got this perfect line that goes north to south. And that's not natural. It's not, the fire didn't decide to pick a line and stop. It was that the first incident management team decided that they were going to cut this gnarly ridge up the side of Case Mountain. And it was such a tough line that we even had firefighters look at it and quit on us and go home. And so, but we had some that took a look and said, let's take a shot at it. And so they took that line right up that ridge. They went right over the top of Case Mountain and back down again all the way to the East Fork. And so it was that priority, that concern for your well-being, and that tenacity of these firefighters that were able to put that in, burn it, hold it, and catch all the spot fires that came out. And there were spot fires. You can see this up here, and I'm sorry, I'm not going to try and steal your thunder, but you can see there's a bit of fire that came over the line over here. Just 2 nights ago, a strong down canyon wind pushed it right across the dozer line, and it was making a run straight towards the community. Again, this is a time where even some of us were thinking, what are our odds? What's the probability? But the tenacity of this team and these firefighters and the availability of the assets that we have when we multiply our forces, when we team together between the county, the state, BLM, and the park, we were able to get everything we needed, and we had some really, really brave folks that went in and caught that, and the forward progress on it has stopped. And so we're almost there. We're 90% there to locking off the threat to the community. And if the next 7 or 8 days in between now and the next time we meet in this room go anything like the last 7 or 8, then I think we're going to be in really, really good shape. So anyway, I just wanted to point that out. I'd be happy to answer any questions. I really appreciate your attendance and your attention tonight. And next, we'll have our County Fire Chief, Charlie Norman.
Thank you, Andy. And to kind of follow tonight's theme, I'll be brief also. Just kind of looking at things, what we have as far as commitment to this fire, we have approximately 170 full-time personnel in our fire department, another 100 extra help. We have over 42% of our fire department up here. We have overhead, we have people in our incident management team, we have our fuels crew up here. There's Chief Renteria in the back, who's been in ops quite a bit this week as our agency rep. So we have a very, very big commitment to this. And I think the collaborative effort we have with the Park Service, with our IMT, with the CAL FIRE and other surrounding agencies, it is truly a team effort. And we're doing everything we can to put this into, I don't know, a very calm state. And we don't have, again, the vibe that we had with the K&P fire and some of the issues that went on with that. This is a much more controlled incident, and things are going well. We still currently have 6 evacuation warnings and 4 orders in place. So I urge all of you to heed to those warnings. Make sure you're doing the right thing. We'll have some time after the meeting to talk if you need any clarification. Most of our concentration in the early part of this incident, can everybody see this? I don't know, my big head's in the way. Most of ours has been on the South Fork. All these structure threats here have been mitigated. That was one of our primary concern from the county fire department standpoint. But we are all, again, plugged in throughout the incident, but that was our number 1 priority because that was our biggest structure threat at the beginning of the incident. And that has been taken care of. As you go through these incidents, we're an all-risk fire department. We do everything, EMS, structure protection, perimeter control. And we still, in addition to this, with the commitment we make up here, we still run an additional 16,000 calls per year on the Valley Floor and other communities. So we're making a good effort. We're working well with the team. I'm kind of a local guy. I know a few people by first name in Three Rivers. So if you have any questions for me specifically to anything that the county's doing or our level of involvement, please feel free to talk to me. So that's all I have. How's that for brevity? 2 minutes? Good. And yeah, there you go. Clap for 2 minutes. And now I'd like to bring up Nick Cleary, who's going to give us an operational update. Nick?
All right, good evening. Nick Cleary. I'm one of the Operations Section chiefs for Team 15. Thanks, Chief Turner, for kind of getting into the map. I wanted to just talk a little bit about how we look at the fire strategy-wise. And so one thing firefighters from the ground up are looking at, position of the fire, timing and action you can take. And it's position of the fire, how much time do we have to put in these lines, and what action can we take with the firefighters that we currently have on scene? We look at fuels, weather, topography. We look at suppression difficulty index, potential probability of success. All those kind of dynamics go into how we make decisions on where we're going to put line. And you'll see in some of these areas of the map, there's indirect line, there's direct line. Firefighting 101, the best method of firefighting is 1 foot in the black, so on the fire's edge, and 1 in the unburn, and having crews remove that fuel and following that up with hose lines and water. That's the best way to fight fire. But unfortunately, because of the ground, and if you look out the window, you see it, we're not capable of doing that all the time. And so I got to give props to the collaborative effort, because Team 5 took one. You look at the lines on this thing, and the probability of success with this line, when you looked at that ridge line, was very poor. But it was successful, and we had firefighters that were willing to at least go take a look and try to put line on the ground and hold the fire. And so, like he said, this is another one, this spot fire we had, and I'll get into the operational briefing, but we're going to continue to have challenges, but the firefighters we have here are willing to take a little bit of risk to try to hold the fire to our objectives and keep it smaller. So if you guys ever have questions of why do we have a line out here and it's indirect, and why do we have one that's direct, it's really looking at timing, position, action. What can we do with the position of the fire with the resources we have? And luckily right now we have a lot of resources and we're able to do it. So I'll start over here, and I'm going to switch sides because it's easier to talk. No, I won't. Okay, Division Alpha, Branch 10. So we've shrunken some of the overhead a little bit. When we took the fire, we had Branch 30, Branch 20, Branch 10. We've kind of combined it a little bit because, as you see, Team 5 was really successful. We got some containment. Over here in Branch 10, we'll start in Division Alpha, kind of coming off the South Fork. All this line that was put in by Team 5, and this was challenging, and these purple dots are helospots, was all put in and simple. We haven't had any challenges in the last couple of days with it. Coming from Hellspot 5 to Hellspot 3, again, crews are still in there. We're having success. The line's holding. Coming from H3 to DP10, there was a little heat in there today. We still have crews in there. So they're monitoring and making sure that it's not going to escape and keep moving to the west. In Case Mountain, 2-3 days ago, we had a little spot fire. Crews got in there. They ringed it with hand line, and they brought it back to the containment line. Coming up into DP2 to 3, this is all looking good. There's still some interior heat today because we had lower RHs. We saw some smokes interior, but they weren't threatening the line. As we're coming up into Case Mountain, you see this indirect hand line. Well, a couple days ago, we had about a 50-acre spot. Pretty big, but the crews got after it. They started in the daytime, and they continued at night. We supported them with aircraft, and that thing's got containment line all the way around it, back to the hand line. Today, an hour ago, before we started, right here in this little confluence, we had a 1/10 of an acre spot above Mineral King Road. They were able to pick it up, forward rate of progress is stopped, and the crews are still in there putting hand line around it. So as we're coming on Mineral King Road, the primary holding feature is going to be that East Fork. We had that spot at the same time because, again, the weather's been dynamic today. Lower RHs, higher temperatures, we're having that for the next couple of days. We had another spot between East Fork and Mineral King, 10 acres. I just got a text that forward rate of progress was stopped. So crews are working as hard as they can with the equipment they have, whether it's ground, engine, helicopters, air attack, operations, to make sure that we're catching anything that's getting out of our control lines. So again, the East Fork is going to be our primary control line. Coming into Eden Creek, the fire's kind of backing and holding in there. It's looking really good right now. And as we come into Juliet, we brought in some wildfire use modules, which they're amazing because they're self-sufficient. They go out there for 7 to 14 days with their own food, their own water. And basically, they're putting line in and just doing the job for us without having to get a briefing every day. But they are getting a briefing. I'm just saying they're not going to camp and getting hot food. They're out there trying to get this line in so we can keep this thing from progressing into the park. We bolstered those wildfire use module crews with a Type 1 crew 2 days ago. We flew them into H10, and so now they have 3 crews out there trying to put this indirect line into Horse Creek so we can hold everything going east into the park. Coming down below H10, Homer's Nose, this is all looking good. There is still a little bit of heat in here. And just to know, we've been looking at all this stuff. They've been having some challenging days. They've been putting indirect hand line in. They had to come all the way back down, hold their line. They had a small little acre spot. They ringed it, brought it back to the line. So this fire's been challenging on all sides of the fire. Coming down to the lower part, Scratch Creek, probably 5 days ago, we had another 40-acre spot fire, or slop over Scratch Creek. Crews got in there, ringed it, and by the end of shift today, this should all be black. And then coming on the South Fork, we're actually in the position now where we're backhauling all the hose. So the fire's looking good, but it's not out. It's dynamic. Every day it seems like we have a win, and then the next day we're out here chasing spots and fighting fire. But one thing I do know is Team 5 sets us up for success. Team 15 is the people managing here to take care of the firefighters, but it's the firefighters that are out there. They've been out here for 14 days. They're continuing to come, and they're doing the work. They're buying in on the plan as long as we're supporting them, with safety. That's all I got. Thank you. John Crotty, Air Ops, is going to be giving your update.
I'm not as eloquent as Nick, but we'll give it a try. So talking about some of those resources, I'll talk about the aviation side. I know everybody loves to see the aircraft flying in the air and gets a good sense of calmness when they're up there. Any given day, we have potentially up to 25 aircraft between fixed wing, the airplanes, the aerial supervision, and then the helicopter was with the rotor wing stuff. And we also have drones. Those air attacks and helicos, so they're in the fixed wing airplanes or in the helicopters, they're like the management of the stack of all the aircraft, making sure they deconflict that airspace so we don't have any type of a close call between aircraft in smoky conditions. Picture yourself at home, turn your TV on, turn your radio on, have your spouse talking all at the same time, and then put a flight helmet on. And some of those volumes are really loud and some are really light, and that's the day of a pilot up there for 8 hours in smoky conditions. So it's amazing. We did a recon today and it was just nonstop chatter. So, and then we try to talk while we're looking at stuff, and it just adds to that confusion as well. But organized chaos. Those air tankers, the air tankers drop retardant. Retardant does not put out fire. Sometimes it does if we're lucky in those grass components, but this is not that. This is brush and big timber. So we need to support the firefighters, give them time to get in there, cut out the hand lines, put in hose lays to support that. Long-term retardant does work. It helps slow that fire down, but when you see those convection columns, that smoke rise, embers and ash get carried up in that, easily travels over that pink red line in the brush and the field there, and then you get a spot fire. So it's not the end all be all, but it is a tool. The rotor wing, the helicopters, we've got both day and night flying helicopters. So our friends with Tillery Ranger Unit with CAL FIRE provide a couple of the night heavy water dropper helicopters. We've used those, as well as our fleet of 11 Fed aircraft that are using to support the firefighters again, dropping water and retardant. So we brought in a mobile retardant base, so as those air tankers get diverted to new initial attacks across the state, like is really happening right now, tough to get an air tanker, we're able to keep retardant flowing locally by having a mobile retardant base set up on a local ranch here. Those drones, little tiny units about the size of the tripod there for the camera, they fly 24 hours. They don't care if it's smoky or not. No risk because there's no pilot on board. It's just machinery, expensive machinery, but it's that. And they can give us aerial intelligence from cameras. They can give us video. They can detect hotspots with infrared. And they can also drop these little dragon eggs about the size of a ping pong ball or smaller that can give us some aerial ignition if we want to try to do some strategic firing to slow the fire spread. The Intel aircraft, we rely on those too. So they're another aircraft up high in the stack, and they're providing us with that infrared and video as well to try to isolate and show us where there's specific trouble spots on the fire. Yesterday, for example, we dropped 140,000 gallons of water, 40,000 gallons of retardant, and we also moved 30 firefighters in and out of some heli-spots with all their gear. And that's another option we use those tools for, is the logistical missions of slinging in supplies, hose, pumps, chainsaw gas, stuff to keep the firefighters working throughout their time on the incident. And we also fly in radio repeater stuff to give us some communications. That's important as well. And I believe that's all I've got for you. So all these great tools we use to help support those firefighters out there and keep them safe. And we also have a medevac aircraft in case one does get hurt. Knock on wood, that doesn't happen, but it's postured out of Visalia to provide a hoist 24-hour rescue aircraft if it is needed as well. Yeah, have a good night.
Good afternoon. My name is Dan O'Connor. I do fire behavior on the team, and I'll tell the story of the fire, how it's been acting, and how how we've come to be. So I've stolen all these pictures. I did not take this one. This is a picture that Jen Croft took. This was a week or so ago, but really cool feature with the smoke column from up high. So go through next slide. Progression. So this fire it's been a really interesting fire to work on. It has 6,000 feet of elevation loss. So within that elevation change, you have timber, giant sequoia up high, red fir, mixed conifer. Then it mixes down. Then you have chaparral. Mixes down even further. You have oak and grasses. Each one of those, we call them fuel types. They're all a little bit different. Some have more moisture, some have less moisture, some burn different tactics, different resources to manage that fire. So it started up really high and essentially has just fallen down, rolled down in all directions. A little bit difficult to see, but shows the progression of the fire in the past few weeks. And when we picked up the fire, when we transitioned from Team 5, our focus area, because this western ridge was in really good shape, the southern portion along the river, really good shape, but our focus area has been along the East Fork. I've got next slide. So where we're at fire danger wise, it's been a dry summer, not particularly the worst fire season ever for us. So we have a couple of charts that show where we're at fire danger wise. Each of these, they focus on what we call ERC. It's an industry standard that the fire agencies use, energy release component, and it factors in the different green up, curing, different cycles of how fuels, flammable vegetation, how it cures and how it dries. Put them all together, and we have on the bottom, in the past 50 years, these are the lowest fire seasons where we have very little fire danger. The highest fire danger years, this is our record seasons, and then we have an average in the green, and in the yellow is our season. So we've been a little bit above average, a little bit of heat waves, and then cooling trends, a little bit of rain. So we're up in the 90th percentile of fire danger. This is in Wolverton, which is up the East Fork, and then Ash Mountain is very similar. You notice that we have some monsoon moisture, brings it down temporarily. That fire danger is mitigated, but then another heat wave and it comes back up. So we've been above average, but not the hottest, driest seasons we've ever seen before. So what has that meant for this fire? So we had a lot of fire up top and needed to close the box. We needed to get the fire from Case Mountain all the way down to East Fork. Team 5 set us up really well. We had this hand line, dozer line. This lost 4,000 feet of elevation. So it had different fuel types, different types of fire behavior. But what we needed to do, and this was on our first day that we took the fire, we began firing this all the way down. We were set up really well. And this is a picture taken from John Crotty from the air, from a helicopter, and looking, so Case Mountain up here, looking to the southeast. This is our line that we had painted with retardant. So we had the dozer line, hand line, and burned it off, and crews took it all the way down, and really optimal burning conditions for that afternoon. We knew that there were risks. We knew, talking from the last team and the incident meteorologist, that at night from the East Fork we have a strong wind that comes down, and it typically these follow we call these down drainage winds, have them at night. But we have this feature right here at the lookout point, and it acts just like a skateboard ramp. It doesn't follow the river like it should. It just follows the terrain and really speeds up and hits this piece. We knew that was going to happen. We knew there was some challenges, but we had to close that box. So that's what we did. We had the fire in place, and about 10:30 at night, we did have a spot over this area down here, just above East Fork. So we were prepared. The next day we really rolled heavily. We had plenty of hotshot crews and dozers and a very strong interagency response to hold that fire in place and have closed that box. Again, looking at the different types of vegetation, pie timber, chaparral, and down low grass and oak. So really volatile, very dry, seasonal dry fuels. So tall order, but that this portion of the fire has largely been closed off for us. Next slide. So where we have concerns in the future, so we're bringing fire down to along the river. The river is our holding feature. Typically, we do have an afternoon wind that comes from the west, so we know that this is a challenging piece for us. We do, as y'all are familiar, we have the KMP complex from a few years ago. So these are lighter fuels. They are grassy. They're volatile. So as we saw today, we had some members that floated across the river, picked up in that grass, burned quickly. But we have crews all along the Mineral King Road. We've prepped it, and we have plans in place for if the fire does get across, it's going to run up, but folks are going to grab it, and that's what happened this afternoon. So we'll continue to use this road, the river, all the features, these indirect lines similar to our indirect line from Case Mountain down to the river. We'll take those actions across the fire to close up this northeast corner of the fire. So that's kind of where we're looking out in the future. And I think I've just got a couple pictures left. I had the word questions here, and then I was told no questions till the end. So right now I just have a couple of cool pictures. So this happened the other night. This is from the lookout spot along the East Fork. And then a really amazing sequoia that have a low intensity fire, and these trees will be just fine. Thanks.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have a slight modification to the agenda. We're joined with District 4 Supervisor Eddie Valero, and he's going to join us to say a few words.
All right, thank you. Well, thank you, everyone, and good evening. Like you said, my name is Eddie Valero, your Tulare County Supervisor. I'm also joined here by my board representative, Jennifer Fox, who's in the room, as well as Sabrina Bustamante, who is the Director for the Office of Emergency Services, Tulare County. And so as your county supervisor, I just want to take a moment to emphasize the importance of staying informed and vigilant. It is crucial for everyone to heed accurate information directly from our dedicated first responders, as they are working tirelessly to provide real-time updates and ensure our safety. They have the most up-to-date information about road closures, safety precautions, and evacuation warnings and orders. And so, again, heed to their advice, and let's keep refreshing those maps as they come. But again, please stay connected through official channels of communication and make sure that you're connected to alert systems like our Alert TC. And so again, together we can navigate this difficult time by supporting one another and relying on the expertise of our first responders. Again, thank you for your cooperation and commitment to keeping our community safe. And then I also want to take this time to thank the many partners on the Coffee Pot Fire who have been working day in and day out for this containment. Your commitment to the safety of people and property are sincerely appreciated and valued, and we cannot thank you enough. From the National Park Service to CAL FIRE, California Interagency Incident Management Team, along with Tulare County Fire, Tulare County Sheriff, as well as Tulare County Office of Emergency Services, we appreciate you immensely. And I just want to take this time, again, if we can just give them a round of applause for what they've done thus far. Again, we sincerely thank you for being our first line of defense and our first responders here in this community. We appreciate you. Thank you.
All right, good evening, everybody. My name is Nick Elmquist. I'm the Incident Commander Trainee for Team 15. I'm the last speaker before questions and answers, so I'll try to keep it short. I just want to highlight a few things. As you guys all well know, the fire started August 3rd. Team 5 was the first incident management team that took the fire. They worked 2 weeks. We come in, we usually shadow for a couple days, and we assumed command on September 1st at 0700. No incident management team is successful without the support of the local units. The local units are the ones that are embedded. They have the local knowledge. Essentially, the incident commander or the incident management team comes in to bolster and to shore up and to fill up any gaps and to support the boost of firefighters that come in with a lot of these ancillary support systems that a lot of times the local unit can't provide. So the strategies remain the same. The objectives are always the same, with the priorities being to life, to property, and to environment. But what makes it successful with these local units is the relationships that they have well before the coffee pot fire started. So just hats off to Superintendent Jordan, Fire Chief Turner, Fire Chief Norman, and Sheriff Bordeaux, because this doesn't happen during an emergency. These relationships are built well before that. So what they've done here is just quite amazing, and I think you could all tell with the mutual response how impressive that is. So impressive, actually, that we do have an international contingent of folks from South America that have come down that do something similar. There are a lot of the folks that are wearing yellow shirts in the back because they want to learn about how incident command is run at really the tip of the spear, and that's how it's done here in the States and especially out west. So they're here to kind of learn from the best, and that's what we're all very fortunate to work with the best in the business. So just thank you for your support. The team that passed the fire to us had nothing but positive things to say about the support they received from the community. So we'll do the best we can to remedy the situation as quick as possible, and we just appreciate your support in the meantime. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Nick. So we're going to move into the question and answering now. I believe our ops chief has a few questions. While he's coming up, you can see the maps around the room that are taped up. When this meeting's over, we'll have representatives from all of our agencies and team here. So if you have a question, maybe individual to you, we'll have one by every map. So just find somebody and we'll answer every question you have here tonight. With that, I'll give it over to Nick, our Operations Section Chief.
Okay, I got the deck of cards. The first question, I have property on Case Mountain. What's the expected time frame to open that area and to open the road going from Mineral King from the Bridge Road to the top of the mountain? Whew, let's just talk about the road systems in here first of all. We've been working every day as hard as we can to even make the roads safe for firefighters to get in. When we first shadowed, we talked about the first. It got so bad that we had to make a traffic plan just because we've had multiple engines and ground support ripping off air tank bladders, rims. The roads are terrible right now. And so we've had a lot of success on this road right here, Salt Creek. I think yesterday they worked almost 16 hours, getting that road improved to the point where it's not as dusty and we're not going off the side of the cliff trying to drive in the sun at the end of shift. And they're having a lot of success. They're planning on almost having that done by, I'd say, the next 2 days. And so I think the biggest question is when we're going to have Mineral King. Again, that's dynamic, right? So I talked about today, we had a spot here. I just don't want to risk any public safety bringing folks in. And we work with the sheriffs. We talk every day. And so I think that's important that we work with our public partners that are here, our cooperators, to make sure that not only the firefighters safe that are on these roads fighting the fire, we don't want any of the public getting stuck there and not being able to turn around, and then we have some increased fire behavior. So I don't have a good answer for that, and I think the best answer would be for the sheriff and timing. It's time. It's going to be a little time. I wish I could tell you guys this thing would be over tomorrow, but it's going to take some time. We're in the midst of a heat wave, and so it's not going to happen tomorrow. It probably won't happen at the end of the week, but we're having success. You guys are seeing black line. So if we can keep these troops engaged and keep them safe, then maybe we can turn the corner and maybe get some more containment line on this. Sorry, I got a lot. What's the containment plan for the movement of the fire east along the south of the main? Can the fire be contained there? This one's kind of... So I'll just tell you the plan from the 30,000 foot level. East Fork, we're trying to hold it in there if we can. It's a natural feature. We like to use natural and man-made features when we can, because then we're not putting any damage in the environment. And if they're going to be something that's holdable and have a high probability of success, we're going to try to use those things. Mineral King Road is a mid-slope road, but they've done a lot of stuff with fuel treatment on it to see if we can hold it if it does get past the East Fork. The hope is that we can continue to pick up these spots if we have them and keep that thing south of the East Fork Road. Coming into, Juliet, and looking at Horse Creek, there is some success that could be there depending on what the fire intensity was going in there. If we can get some line in, and like we talked about with the drones and UAS, and put fire on the ground under our terms and it's lower intensity and we can back it in, then there might be some potential in holding it there. It doesn't mean we look at this and say this is our primary line. We still have folks out here scouting and looking, again, at those analytics of suppression difficulty and probability of success at other stuff out to the east. And then on the south side, it's the same thing. That's why the goal is to try to keep bolstering Juliet as we start locking off some of this stuff. Again, we talked about that timing, position, action. We're trying to we've moved a bunch of resources here so we could take action today with the activity we had. And after we feel comfortable with this, we'll move some more resources over here so we can start taking more action over here. It's just based on what we have and how we can move those things based on what the priority is for the day. And our priorities change every day based on what we see and what kind of activity we have. So we are going to try to use Horse Creek. We are going to try to use this indirect hand line. You're looking at the IR, this stuff hasn't moved in like 4 or 5 days, probably 6 days. And the only heat we had was down here in Scratch Creek, and we put crews in there to go direct. It's just, we just can't put black line on it yet until we have more time on it to see that it's not going to continue to move. And there's another question, and I'll answer it at the same time. It says MODIS. We have a hard time with those satellites, even as the operations ourselves, because we'll get spots in the middle of a lake, and we're like, how is there a spot in there? And so what we do to battle that is we have aircraft from CAL FIRE, we have aircraft from OES, we have aircraft from the feds that give us real-time IR information on a map so we can see where the hot spots are. So we're not just relying on a computer program that has a DOD person that maybe doesn't understand fire or maybe seeing a hot rock because temperatures were 108 degrees up here today. So we try to back it up with real-time stuff that we have here. All those drones aren't only able of firing, but they have IR capability. And typically every day, that's what we're using them for. When we had this spot over here in Division Echo, they didn't put any fire on the ground. They helped guide the firefighters in to see how low in the drainage it was so they could be successful and put line in. So I know that MODIS thing says there's heat showing up here. I actually looked at it before we came here, and we had heat all over the place. And so then we just fall back to what is more accurate and real that we can depend on, and we look at our partners that we have that have the aircraft with the real-time information so we can get that to us. And that information, it's changed. I was talking to somebody, in the last 5 years, the availability of situational awareness tools is crazy. You can get stuff at your fingertips and within 5 minutes and know what's going on with everything on the fire, and we're using that technology to our benefit. At this point, how likely is the fire? How likely will escape containment and burn into, I think it says the areas of 3 rivers. I'm never going to say that it's not going to happen, right? So we've had successes here, but we still have to be vigilant to make sure that even though we're moving up towards the north, that we're still monitoring and holding all these lines and having people on the ground patrolling it. Even probably months after we leave this place, not only will the suppression repair be going on, but you might have another team here, you'll have different firefighters, but they're still going to be walking these grounds to make sure there's nothing that's going to come out of the containment lines that were put in place. You could have smokes in here for months, and maybe we call them unburned islands. So there could be an island of fuel that didn't have any fire in it, and then it has some weird kind of weather feature, and then it burns, and it could throw embers over the line. So the purpose of having people continually staff, and that's why we're asked all the time, how come you guys have been on that fire so long? It's been out for 3 months. It's really because we're actively patrolling to make sure that if there is any unburned islands, if there is any threat to the line, that the firefighters are out there. So I don't want to say that 3 rivers will never be threatened, because I don't know what the weather's going to be in 2 weeks. We're getting into Santa Ana wind event season, and sometimes we can get some east winds up here as well. And so that's why the priority is to box this stuff in, and that's why the priority of Team 5 was, hey, we're going to take this line that doesn't look like it has a high probability of success, but we're going to go for it and try it. And now we got black line because we want to try to get this whole west section boxed in and be successful with it. So for that question, I can't tell you that it's not going to escape the containment, but I have a really high confidence that it won't, because I'm seeing the action that the firefighters are taking right now. And when we are having little losses during the day of 50 acres, they're able to grab it and bring it back to our lines. Good? Okay.
Thank you, Nick. Do we have any other questions from our info shop, online or in person? Okay, I think with that, that's going to bring our meeting to a close. On behalf of Supervisor Valero, Tulare County Fire Department, Sequoia Canyon National Park, CAL FIRE, and Interagency Incident Management Team 15, thank you for joining us online, and thank you all for joining us here in person.